Okay, we're not even gonna mince any words. This is what y'all came for. I quit. Basically, I quit residency. And it's a kind of sort of story, so I'm gonna just get into it. Essentially, I'm Nigerian American. So if you know, you know. All right? The three careers, right? Everybody's heard it before. Doctor, lawyer, engineer. The trifecta. So that was basically the definition of success that was kind of drilled into me growing up. And long story short, I did it. Obviously, I did it. Naija no de carry last, right? So I did it. And I realized along the way that I was not happy with the career path that I chose. I went through high school, went through college, very focused, very in my books, and went to med school, and then matched into residency, emergency medicine, basically. So I did emergency medicine and started in the year of our Lord, Jesus Travion Christ, in 2020, in the panini, the panoramic, the pandizzle. So yeah, that was hectic. I had a great program around me. I had great people around me. I had friends. None of that was that. I just was not happy. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled and full of life. Now, I had known intuitively before I went on this whole journey, before I even applied to med school. When I applied and I got in, I had known that going down this path, it just felt like I wasn't going to be happy. I knew intuitively that, like in my spirit, I knew going down this road, I wasn't going to be happy. And it came to fruition. So I got to a point in residency where it just, long story short, it felt like I was dying inside. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. That was the feeling that I was like, oh, no. Mm-mm. Today is today. Like, this is not what, I'm not meant to be suffering like this. Like, it literally felt like I was dying inside. And I think this would have happened eventually. Definitely, I think it would have happened eventually, because like even before I went, I was like, oh yeah, I'm practicing minimum or maximum 10 years. Like maximum 10 years. You just start seeing more and more, and you just maximum. But the way, medicine is, you're just on that track. Like you're ticking the boxes, you're doing the research, you're doing the papers, you're doing the rotation, the ways, you're just on the go, doing everything that you need to do to get to the next level. And it's always, oh, the next year, when I get to the next year, when I get to the next year. Like I gave up so much, and then the pandemic hit. So even when I was like about to graduate and about to like finally start my life of traveling and balancing with all my shifts and everything, the universe was like, nope, alley-oop, LOL, nope. So yeah, it would have happened sooner or later. And I think what made it happen faster was the pandemic. Definitely. There are so many people that we never hear about, obviously, that, right after they finish residency, they don't practice clinical medicine. Or 1 year after practicing clinical medicine, they're just like, oh no. Or, 5 years after, they're super unhappy, they're looking to make a switch to change. You never hear about that. But by then, especially the further you get into your career, the golden handcuffs, clink, clink, okay, they're tight. They're tight. As soon as they put that MD after your name and the DR period point before your first name, it's like everybody thinks, oh, money's here, money has arrived. And especially culturally too, it's just a whole big cluster. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself overspending, trying to get everything back that you had to give up, and trying to keep up appearances and match the role, match the title of everything that you're supposed to have as a doctor. So I had to change. I had to change a whole bunch of things, and I hate change. I don't want to say hate, but me and change, it's been constant. And so now we're like forced friends. Like, we're bosom buddies, but I side eye her and she side eyes me. So, excuse me. Yeah. The biggest thing that I think I had to change was my definition of success. So that had to be completely obliterated and destroyed. And I had to figure out, okay, what does success mean for me? What do I want to feel in life? And because we're on this huge tunnel vision, just going, going through high school to make it to college, going to college to make it to med school, going to med school to make it a residency, going to residency to make it to attendinghood. Like, you're just never, for me, it's so hard to be present into what you're actually feeling, what I was actually feeling, until I realized, oh my God, I'm dying inside. So I had to like really redefine a lot of things. And one of the huge things was, what was success for me? I had to begin taking stock of how I was feeling in my body. And because it's crazy that you wake up, or like you're getting ready for work one day and randomly you're just bawling. Like, that's when you know something's wrong. When you just start crying out of nowhere, it's time to give a little ring to your therapist. Okay, something is going on and you have no idea what it is. Like, mentally, your body knows. So it was a lot of getting back in touch with what I'm feeling and figuring out why I'm feeling this way. What's wrong? Like, what's really going on here? I'm confused. I realized that I was very tired, very numb. There was fear there. Obviously, everybody was scared in the pandemic. My body was just tense, very rigid. I went to go get a massage, and the woman looked at me, like the Korean lady. She was like, "What's wrong? You married?" And I was like, "No, girl." She was like, "What do you do for work?" And I told her. She was like, "Oh my God, not everywhere, not everywhere." In truth, they were everywhere. And like, those Korean massage therapists, they don't play. They get everywhere. I had knots in my feet. I had knots in my calves. My legs are not even, like, what? Knots in my calves? Throughout my back. Oh my God. And I am about a year and a half out. I still have knots. Just yesterday, I had, like, my whole upper back was in pain because, like, just the tension. I do yoga now, and we'll get into the soft life that I've, curated and created. But yeah, it was crazy. I was so disconnected from my body, I didn't even realize it. And of course, like I said, the pandemic, I think, put like times 10, times 20, like, on everybody in medicine. So it was a lot. It was a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then I had to decide. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to decide right here, right now. Even though there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, I'm dying inside. I can't do this anymore. I'm running away. Like, trust, I knew the process to get a St. Lucia visa, like, to go run away from my life and go live there. But I didn't want to run. I don't want to run. That was one thing that was like, no, I don't want to run. But at the same time, I couldn't see past December 2021. Like, I had no idea what the next year was going to entail. So that was very weird for me because, again, I had a 3-year plan for middle school. I knew every class I was taking in middle school every year before I even got to 6th grade. Same thing for high school. All 4 years, I knew what classes. It wasn't even like a thing. Everybody's like, oh my God, I don't know what classes. I pulled out my 4-year plan from when I constructed it in 8th grade. Like, same thing with college. Same thing with med school. I had a plan for residency too. And then it was all shot to hell when I woke up one day and was like, oh my God. Like, so the decision process, it took a while. It was pretty organic. The decision process, it wasn't like, oh, I woke up one day and decided. It was months. Oh my God. It was months. And honestly too, I don't think I talked about this or wanted to like talk about it much because I didn't think I like processed everything 100%. It was months. And it was like I'd be looking for jobs, and then I'd be on St. Lucia's website like, oh, how do I get the visa? And then I'd be like, okay, well, I got a shift, so go into shift. It was like a lot of things. And I had also too been in therapy as well because again, I had a great program director, leadership and everything. So, and my parents too were like, oh, doesn't your program offer therapy? And I was like, my Nigerian parents are telling me about the therapy that my program offers. Oh, this must be really bad. So I had enrolled. I should probably give a timeline, no? Okay, so timeline for this is probably, I finished intern year. Towards the end of intern year, I was like, this is a little hectic. Intern year, I didn't even have time to think, honestly. I didn't even have time to feel anything besides get up, go to work, crush it. Don't look like the only girl in your class. I was the only woman in my class. And I was in Ohio. So it was just like, and we're still in the pandemic. So it was that, also with the fire hose that is intern year and all the crazy rotations and everything. I didn't have time to think intern year. Towards the end, I was like, oh my God, wow, this is looking like it's not for me. Like, that's crazy. And I was contemplating like re-signing or renewing my contract, because you renew every year. That's a whole nother story. So basically that was end of intern year. I decided to not do anything rash, i.e. fly to St. Lucia, find me an island man and never come back. And I decided to sign for second year and figure out what I was gonna do after second year, because I knew, okay, I'm staying for this second year, but I'm not doing this afterward. I had decided that much. Actually, no. That period from that transition of end of first year, from like around February 2021 to like into second year, into the fall of second year, that was like the most gray liminal space ever, because I didn't know if I was gonna stay. I didn't know if I was gonna leave. I didn't know where I would go if I left besides St. Lucia. I didn't know what I was gonna be doing to get money, like to get paid if I did leave. And like, there's so many options that we who have been on this path, I think, don't realize we have. So I was exploring lots of options, and I was also just trying to make a decision out of my right sound self. So that therapy really helped with that. I had an amazing therapist, Dr. Mark, saving lives. And he really helped me see that it wasn't a this or that, or an either or. It could be a this and that. At the same time, I had started, like, the music came back to me. So I had started writing songs and poetry, and I tried to bring more balance back into my life. That way I could make a decision out of a whole place. So I started, like, skating, roller skating. I started doing, like, things for myself. I did some vocal lessons. I would do, like, writing workshops and things like that. I was doing little things, like conscious effort to bring myself back, because the person that I was, like, I've never been that kind of person in my life. Like, I had withdrawn. Like, I wasn't calling, like, my regular people regularly. I was, like, crying for no reason. Again, that's one of my little warning signs, when I start crying for no reason. I was just like, it wasn't even stress, it was just tension. Like, my patience, oh my goodness, my patience, non-existent. Mm-hmm. And I basically was becoming, like, someone that I didn't like. And that is a side effect of, like, residency, and, like, sometimes it can change. Actually, not some. A lot of times it does change you. And I think if you asked anyone that is in residency, they will tell you it's true. And you can get yourself back to an extent, you know. So that's what I was trying to do in that interim time. I had started journaling. I was reading a whole bunch of, like, self-help and, like, spiritual books as well. I was reading about how to make money in the music business, because, like I said before, I know they carry last. Okay, so if I was gonna leave this, potentially, this other option that actually fulfills me and actually makes me happy and I enjoy, how am I gonna eat with it? So, you know, I like to read, and I like money, all right? So I was looking for different ways. I want to travel. I want to live life, see the world. I was looking at English teaching programs in, like, Thailand and things like that. So that was that gray period where I was still crying. I mean, there's a lot that has to come out, right? So I was still crying, and I would still go to shift, and I would still do my best at shift, because when I thought about it, it's not anybody's fault that I'm here. Like, honestly, my Nigerian self is like, it's your fault. But it's not really anybody's fault. This is just the path life had taken me on. And it is what it was. Like, I was there in that minute, and that's how I got through that time. Like, I literally, on harder days, it would be a minute at a time, an hour at a time. Going to shift was actually, like, pretty clutch, because, like, when you get on, my brain, it's able to, like, disconnect from my body. Hey ho. So I was able to just dive in and be in shift, and shift flies like that. You just go see the patients, dragging it, like, go to your procedures. And I was moving and shaking. Okay, it was never like I couldn't do it. It was, did I want to do it? Did I want to keep doing it? So the decision came, like, in the fall. And with that decision, that I was like, I'm not doing this. I had to also accept that I would be a disappointment and considered a failure, that people would look at me like, oh, she's a quitter, or that I couldn't hack it. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't do it. Mind you, remember, I'm the only woman in my class, okay? And I was doing great. Like, I was doing great. So, yeah, feedback was always great. I enjoyed working with my colleagues. They enjoyed working with me because I'm a vibe, duh. But it was just, I didn't want to do it. It's not that I couldn't do it, not that I can't do it. Like, I didn't want to do it. And I realized too that because by then I'm a second year, so you have like the interns under you, you have the med students under you, and I realized that, and they're starting to let you like run the room and everything. And I had been running the room with my attending, and I put a chest tube in as well, and I still was doing the resuscitation and everything. And everybody after was like, whoa, 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 like, wow. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I just need to write my other notes, go check my other patients, and dip. Like, I want to go home. Like, it was just like boom, boom, boom. I was on such autopilot that it was just like, I need to write my notes, I want to go home. And that was how I made it through every shift. On the hard days, on the good days, just knowing that I'd be able to go home after 10, 11-ish hours. So yeah, that day I realized, dang, there were like other little moments, like signs and everything. But that day I was like, dang, yeah. And so combined with like other little signs and synchronicities and like literal messages out of people's mouths, it came to me one day that I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And literally that decision filled me, like I didn't even know what the word for it was till the next day. Like, it was just like, ooh. Like, there was finally space. Like, the pressure was gone. There was finally space. And it wasn't until the next day that my friend, my dear friend, she is who named it for me. She was like, girl, that's peace. And I was like, ah. So, yeah, it's been a long road, and it's taken me so long to like even start talking about it and start like, I want to document the life I'm creating now because it's amazing. Like, it's awesome. I didn't even figure out what I was doing afterward. It was literally dropped into my lap. Like, I quit emergency medicine residency, went to a less intense residency with more freedom and more flexibility, which is all I asked for when I sent my prayers up and out. Like, the way everything fell together, it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't supposed to be doing it, is all I can say. And so it's taken me a year and a half or so to like get to this point where I'm at peace and comfortable like sharing it, because all those things I had to accept, like being a failure and like my parents being disappointed, and like feeling not good enough, like those things don't go away overnight. They don't go away just because you did a few months of therapy and you whatever. Like, I had to come to terms and make peace with a lot of things and give myself a lot of grace and be so honest and true and authentic to myself. And when I started doing that, I found that actually, like, a lot of people had grace for me. My Nigerian parents had grace for me. Like, so yeah, I have this want to like document the life I'm creating. And like this is like a video diary, I guess, of sorts. I want to post like once a week, just talking about what I'm doing and how I got here and how I think about things. And when I do tell people, like my previous life, I call it, when I do tell people my previous life, like they tell me like I'm like so brave and courageous, and even when I was switching and finally decided and telling other people, they would be like, oh my God, you're so brave for doing that. It does not feel that way. It does not feel that way at all. It is literally one of the most earth-shattering things. Wow, airplane, you just gonna steal my sentimental moment like that? Geesh. It's very destabilizing is the point. And I didn't feel that way. I still don't really feel that way. I just feel like I've been through some things and nobody could tell me anything about it because I'm here now. Like, I'm here right now. I'm doing what I want when I want. Like, I'm making moves to become even more free in my life. So I made like this promise with myself, like if I ever got out of this situation that I have put myself in, like there's no stopping past go. So anything that I want to do, I'm gonna do. And I'm not listening to any more of the shoulds and what I should be doing or what I should say, who I should be, blah, blah, blah. Move. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any more delayed gratification. I'm not doing any more sacrifices. For what? For what? Like, I've done enough. So I'm finally at this place a year and a half or so out where I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing about the timeline, the process, the time spent doing this, that, or the other. I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm only looking to like expand into this new, this new soft life I'm creating. And I think that's the biggest blessing so far. The biggest blessing of all right now. The regrets that I mentioned, I'm sure they'll come up eventually, and I'll talk through them, documenting everything, but for the most part, they're past. They're past. I would not be the badass that I am if I didn't go through those 2 years of emergency medicine. I wouldn't know how to read people as well as I do. I wouldn't know how to handle people as well as I do. I wouldn't have the interest in, the things that I do. If I didn't go to med school, I wouldn't be able to read the way I read. I'm sure that'll come up in future videos. I know that there are a lot of people out there who it's kept very hush-hush because it's just not what people talk about. You're literally supposed to put your head down and just keep going until you reach attendinghood and you are the success that everyone proclaims you to be. But now that I have worked through a lot of those things and I'm no longer settling for anything in life, I'm no longer putting things on the back burner, I'm no longer deferring or delaying gratification for anything. I'm finally settling into my life, into this present moment, being in my body, embodied, and actually enjoying it. Peace has no price. Peace has no price. And I was considering. Salary of an ER doc is crazy. I was considering. But yeah, peace is one thing for your body to tell you something. It's also another thing for your spirit to tell you something. So that's essentially the bare minimum of the entire story. I am who I am. I'm a creative. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm a poet. I work in public health as well. And I'm finally settling into my life. and finally in a space where I can enjoy it, and I'm not looking at something in the future or something external to define the value and fulfillment I feel internally. And it feels like heaven. Like, it feels really good. So yeah, as I like to say, and as I used to wrap up, what questions do you have? I am here to support anyone who has ever felt any of the feelings that come along with questioning your life and your existence and existential crisis. So yeah, I plan to document my creative and generative processes, and more so my traveling, to be honest with you, and do more of these videos just talking about life and how to navigate those crossroads, because I think it could help somebody. And if I'm finally at peace with it, I want to be at peace sharing it and share that peace with other people. So yeah, that way also too, when my mom gives my number to people to talk about medicine, I can just be like, yo, go watch my YouTube channel, and then you decide, bro, because I can't tell you to do this or don't do it. So yeah, leave any questions or comments below. If you do want to see what I'm doing in terms of artist development, singing, songwriting, then you can follow me on my socials, JRV Official, on TikTok and Instagram. This is gonna go on my channel. That's like my overarching thing, Creatrix Co Studios. Just a collection of my creative endeavors. Thank you for watching.